You're our leader.
That's right.
Buenos dias. Hello. Good morning,
Hello.
right?
Buenos
Good
dias.
afternoon.
We missed our cue. Buenos dias.
Yes, buenos dias, right? I'm Maria Lopez, Director of Environmental Justice and Community Development at the Ironbound Community Corporation. And I just want to thank everyone for being here right now in this potentially historic moment. So to that end, I just want us all to plant our feet firmly on the ground and try it. I see a lot of you with your feet crossed. Just plant both your feet firmly on the ground and take a deep moment. Take a deep breath and just take this in, because I think that this is potentially a historic moment where we're gonna follow the lead set by New York City, but take the lead in following the example of providing full access to legal representation for Newark's most vulnerable. We need to ensure that as Newark moves forward, everybody goes with it. And this, that both mayors are here to do, is a historic moment, and I just wanted to applaud that. So thank you. With that, I want to welcome the Honorable Mayor Ras Baraka.
I want to thank Maria and ICC and all of the other partners here that helped us, come to this conclusion today. Newark is a city that's moving forward, a lot of development. We always tout the $4 billion worth of development that's happening in the city. And in that, we have been very concerned about populations of residents in our city who have been here for a very long time, about keeping them here, getting them access to the kind of wealth that's happening in our city, and maintaining rents that are not prohibitive for them in order to stay and be a part of Newark's renaissance. About 78% of Newark residents are actually renters in our city. That's a very, very large number in our city. We have a very strong rent control ordinance in the city of Newark. We passed an inclusionary zoning ordinance that requires additional affordable housing in our community as well. There's a lot more work that we have to do to kind of mitigate the kind of problems you get when you become successful in a downtown area in terms of development and opportunity for your city. As a result of that, we want to make sure that the most vulnerable in our society, in our city, have access to legal representation in Newark. And we obviously took the lead from Mayor de Blasio and the great work that he's doing in New York City. In fact, at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I got a chance to corner him and sit down and have a conversation about, a few things: Amazon, second term, and right to counsel. Which was very, very, very important for us, and he explained it to me exactly in a way that I needed to hear it, and I came back because I knew there was a lot of talk about getting this done in Newark, and our folks began meeting with his folks over in New York City, and we got to where we are today. We're very excited about our opportunity to get this rolled out in the city. We think that we'll be able to get it completely done anywhere between 3 to 5 years. We're going to start off immediately dealing with folks that are disabled, our seniors, and our undocumented immediately for the first year. We are partnering with some for-profit and nonprofit organizations to provide legal counsel. We are looking to, I know some folks out there, hire an individual to kind of manage this program for us as well, but I'll let the other folks come up and talk about that. But we're excited to have the great mayor from across the water over here on our side, Mayor de Blasio, who I think is doing an awesome job in New York City, right? One of America's most progressive mayors, who many of us take the lead, from around many issues, whether we're talking about the environment or pushing back against, these policies that are coming out of the White House, and now today, counsel for the most vulnerable in our community. So I would like to give the mayor of New York City, Mayor de Blasio, an opportunity to address you this morning. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be here. And it is, as Maria said, it has the potential to be a historic day. I'm going to go one farther and say I guarantee you it's a historic day for Newark. Because when people can stay in their home regardless of all the change happening around us, when people can stay in their home, when they can avoid an illegal eviction, when a family stays together, that's historic. And that means that that apartment, that home will remain affordable for years and years to come. That's good for everyone. So I think it is historic that Newark's taking this big step forward. And I want to tell you, Mayor Baraka and I have been talking for years together. Last time, as you mentioned, we got into detail on this was at the Conference of Mayors meeting in Washington. I'm a fan of his. I respect tremendously what he has achieved here in Newark. But he's right. It's not just Newark, it's not just New York City, it's cities all over the country are facing this profound challenge. We went through the lean years. I can testify at length to what New York City was like in the 70s and 80s and 90s, all the challenges we faced. I spent a lot of time in Newark over the years as well, and I know the challenges Newark faced. What an irony that things turn around and things get better and the city becomes greater, and then a new problem comes with that. And you could stand still and not address it, or you could come up with a creative solution. And this is what's so powerful about this announcement today, is that it means that people will be protected in these changing times, and we need that. Look, Mayor Baraka has gotten a lot done, and I really want to give him credit, because a lot of people I remember when he was first elected, a lot of people were counting Newark out, and a lot of people were counting him out. And they didn't know Mayor Baraka. They didn't know what he was capable of. It's very kind what he said about New York City and what he said about the work that my administration is doing, but I want to return the compliment because I've watched carefully. And Mayor, you've been a progressive champion. You really have. And look, I want to give you examples what it means to me. When I say progressive champion, I don't use that lightly, because I honor what that means. When Ross Baraka took on Governor Christie and said the people in Newark should get to determine the futures of their children in their school system, and he won, that's what a progressive champion does. And he mentioned inclusionary housing, inclusionary zoning is something we're very proud. Also, we've achieved in New York City. Well, those words sound very technical. I like to talk about it in very tangible terms. It used to be that big developers called the tune. And when they came in, they would develop essentially what they wanted. I want to tell you, Mayor, that was true in New York City for a long time. They were not required to create affordable housing for people in the community. It was a one-sided deal. Well, it's not a one-sided deal in Newark anymore. It's not a one-sided deal in New York City anymore, because now we require the creation of affordable housing. It's hard and fast. It's a rule now, and that makes a difference. And when you talk about people's standard of living, there's nothing more important than the wages they make. There's been a movement all over this country to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. A lot of people for years thought that movement wasn't going anywhere. Well, one of the days when it moved forward was when Newark acted. And Mayor Baraka is one of the people who propelled that movement forward. And now the entire state of New Jersey has the potential to be a $15 an hour state. Well, a lot of that started right here with this mayor. So a lot has been achieved, and Newark is a much stronger and better and fairer place. But let's talk now about protecting people's homes, protecting people against illegal eviction. And these are, who are we talking about protecting? We're talking about working people, folks who struggle to make ends meet, and before were defenseless if that eviction notice came. That eviction notice was a death sentence for their home. It's as simple as that, vast majority of the time. I will note with appreciation, it is International Workers' Day today. So let's talk about how we support working people, how we protect them, and nothing's more basic than protecting their homes. Here's how it used to be in New York City. Here's how it used to be in Newark before these kind of policies were put in place. The eviction notice was put up. And at that moment, people would come home, they'd see that notice, and they felt right there, ball game over. They didn't have a place to turn. A bad landlord who's trying to evict you illegally unquestionably has the money and the power and the lawyers to get it done. Typical tenant was defenseless, could not afford a lawyer, didn't have a place to turn. That was a David and Goliath story, except unfortunately in that version, Goliath would win every time. The power of offering legal counsel is that you create an actual level playing field. If the eviction is illegal, it can be stopped, and that family can stay in their home. Imagine what it means to someone, God forbid they see that notice, to now know they've got a lawyer on their side who can defend their interests. By the way, because of this new policy, I think a lot of people are not going to see that notice, because the landlords will know better than to try an illegal eviction that they would have gotten away with in the past. So that's why I think it's historical. We went on our journey in New York City. We started experimenting with the use of legal services. I talked to the mayor about our journey, and it culminated last year with the right to counsel law. And in New York City, the message is simple. If you are faced with an illegal eviction, you can get legal help. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and said what a difference that has made in their lives. Well, I also like to think about what it means in total. Over years, potentially thousands of people get to stay in their homes. And by the way, there is so much, rightfully, so much concern about our children who go through disruption in their lives at an early age and how much that can undermine their education and their future. We want to see children stay in their home. This is another way to do it, to avoid those disruptions that in so many cases force our children on the wrong path. So this is going to be a game changer for Newark. And I want to say, thanks to Mayor Baraka, a lot of people are going to be able to stay in their home. A lot of illegal evictions are going to be stopped. That's a new day for Newark. Mayor, I, unfortunately in this instance, only get to pay a brief visit. I, next time, would like you to take me to one of your favorite restaurants, of which there are many fine examples in this town. I know that for a fact. This time I only get to visit briefly, but I visit with a full heart, real appreciation for what you've achieved, but also for taking this policy and now bringing it to so many more people. And just like you and I always experience, mayors, we encourage each other, we support each other. If one's got a good idea, they tell the next one. If one's got a problem, we talk it through and help each other out. So, Mayor, thank you for making sure so many people are going to benefit from this idea, and now let's pass it on to the next person and the next city and save more tenants from eviction. Now, if you'll indulge me one more moment, Mayor, I've made it a habit in my press conferences in my city with now almost 3 million Latino New Yorkers. I'd like to offer a few words in Spanish. En español. It will not be the best Spanish you've ever heard, but we're going to try anyway. Gracias al alcalde Baraka, Newark es una ciudad más fuerte y más justa. Me complace estar con él hoy y todos los días. Hoy la ciudad de Newark está dando un gran paso hacia la equidad y la justicia. Ofrecer ayuda legal a los inquilinos que luchan contra los malos caseros cambiará vidas en esta ciudad. Nuestra ciudad se siente orgullosa de apoyar a la gente trabajadora de Newark. Our city is proud to support the working people of Newark as well. Thank you. Well done. Good idea. Well done.
So the mayor has to head on back into New York. But I want to invite Jason Grove up and Jay Lee as well to give us some more detail about the actual rent control, well, not rent control, excuse me, the actual right to counsel details.
Good afternoon. I just want to thank our wonderful honorable mayor for taking the steps to make sure that we are spearheading initiatives that protect our tenants. If you don't know, I'm the rent regulation officer for this glorious, wonderful city, and it's booming, it's changing, it's evolving every single day, and every day I have countless people at my office asking me for help, and usually the mayor sends them, usually, because his heart is very, very big, and he simply said, this needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. He said, I want to make sure that as every new building comes up, that we can try to ensure that people get to stay in their homes. And as a tenant and as a person of this community, I care about that. It's important, it's imperative to make sure that we all have homes. A lot of people mistake homes for a house that you own and pay taxes to, and forget that any apartment that you live in this wonderful city is your home, and it remains your home. And Jason has been working diligently to make sure that he knows everything and anything about rent control, about evictions, and we made sure that we included the community in this aspect, and we want to make sure that your input is what we move forward with. And I'm very grateful that we have a progressive mayor that is constantly screaming social justice, economic justice, and what can we do to protect the countless residents and constituents of the city. So I'm just really grateful that we're moving forward with something like this, and I look forward to the next 5 years and how we can just continue to grow as a city and continue to exceed. Thank you.
My name is Jason Grove, Policy Advisor to Mayor Baraka. I'll be very brief. I wanted to thank all of you for coming today. Today is an amazing opportunity to provide access to free legal counsel to some of the most vulnerable individuals in the city of Newark. This legislation, which is the access to free legal counsel, is a collaborative effort with the city of Newark and the for-profit and nonprofit legal community, bringing them together to tackle an issue that is not only a Newark issue, but faces many urban communities around the United States. Our goal with this legislation is to bring together people that get it right, that know exactly what the needs are in our communities, who are doing the work currently and doing it effectively, but need the collaboration of one of the most progressive mayors in the United States and the community at large. What I'd like to do is introduce some of those folks. First, we have I'm sorry, actually, Mayor Baraka is going to do that. I'd like to introduce some of those folks. First up is Mr. Felipe Chavana from Essex Newark Legal Services.
Good afternoon, Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone else. Essex Newark Legal Services is the provider of legal assistance to most tenants, and yet only a fraction who are facing eviction in this county. Eviction is an issue for people of color. 99.9% of those who face eviction in Essex County are low-income people of color, residents of the 4 urban areas, the 4 large contiguous urban areas, including Newark, East Orange, Orange, and Irvington. And so it's an issue of real concern in terms of redevelopment, and we share the mayor's vision of redevelopment of the city of Newark with its long-term residents in place. We applaud the actions that have been taken, a strong rent control legislation, the inclusionary zoning, and now this initiative as well. The importance here of this initiative isn't simply expanding access to counsel, but also sending a message to the courts, to society, that eviction is a city concern. It's not a battle between two private parties the way sometimes it just looks like it plays out. There's a greater community good out there, the stability of the community, and so if we have over 20,000, 30,000 residents of the city of Newark facing ouster each and every year, well, that has a deleterious effect, not only on the families and children and seniors that face the actual ouster, but on their neighborhoods and on their city and on the safety net and on all of us in terms of the quality of life. And so that is one of the messages that is going out from this. And we pledge our support at Essex Newark Legal Services to assisting in any way to bring about the success of this initiative, including mentoring, training, and all sorts of collaboration. So thank you, Mayor, for this initiative, and we look forward to helping make it a success. Thank you.
All right, next we want to bring up Mr. Richard Camerari from Newark Community Development Corporation.
Thank you, Jason. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following Felipe, I feel like Raul following Fidel. Should I have said that? I don't care. I don't care. Anyway, I'm happy to be here. I'm speaking on behalf of the Newark Community Development Network, which is a network of all the major CDCs in Newark and CBOs. These are groups that have been around for 50-plus years: New Community Corporation, Urban League, Unified Valesburg, La Casa. Our allies, Rutgers Newark, for instance, and their institutions that have helped us, including, I see David Trout here from CLIMB, the Center for the, what is it again, David? Law, Inequality, and Metropolitan Equity. You can't have a better name than that. It has been great help to us in our inclusionary efforts and equitable efforts. The key here is that CDCs in Newark have been modeling equitable development for years. And I'll say it, we finally have a mayor who gets it, who is in full support of equity, who brings some embedded principles of equity and social justice to this city. And he has created policies that are rooted in those principles and practical applications that will change the material lives of people. RTC, Right to Counsel, is just one thing. It's an extremely important thing, but it's also part of an array of issues like inclusionary zoning, like the Newark 2020 initiative to hire Newark residents, like I Believe in a Healthy Newark, the Safer Newark Council for Public Safety. All these things are going on. They're interconnected. They reflect an approach from the mayor's transition report 4 years ago that is thoughtful, that is comprehensive, and that is coherent. We are grateful for this administration doing what it has done and what it will continue to do. We are grateful that we will be committed to working with the administration to further these goals. And we have a lot more work to do. We all know that. But we're going in a direction that is solid, that is informed, and that will take us, what is it, Mr. Mayor? Forward ever. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Camerari. Next, we'll have Joseph Delafave from Ironbound Community Corporation.
Thank you, Jason. Following Richard is like following a poet. Good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon, Mayor. We've been working with the city on this matter for a few months and are really extremely appreciative that the city is moving forward on this. I want to recognize that as part of this advocacy work, ICC is part of NCDN, as Richard mentioned. Professor Trout, who's here from Rutgers, James Powell is here from Newark Homes for All, and we've been working and being guided by our colleagues from New York City, the Right to Counsel Coalition in New York. That really was the motivating force behind the ordinance there, and thank you for your support. As Richard was saying, this is an important initiative for so many different reasons. Obviously, you know, we believe in housing justice. We believe that everybody has a right to an affordable home. We believe that everybody has a right in court at a level playing field, and that the scales of justice should not be tipped in one direction only, as it has been. We're hoping that this will change the culture of the court. And in fact, just as it has in New York City, we'll move landlords away from coming to court to evict tenants, very often without just cause at all. This is, as Richard said again, one of the pieces of the puzzle that the city has been working on in the struggle for justice and equity. We talk at Ironbound of uplifting, not uprooting people, and it's especially important as the city moves forward. And I've heard the mayor talk about one of his great challenges is how do we change this city, how do we uplift it, how do we create new wealth, and at the same time, how do we distribute that wealth to people who need it? How do we keep people who are here in this city? You know, and I think, you know, it just goes down to another basic grassroots principle of people having a right to control their own destiny, their own neighborhoods, having a right to stay in the city that they were born and raised in, just as much as the person who's coming into this city tomorrow. So this is a piece of that puzzle. We believe in it strongly. We're really looking forward to a really strong ordinance, and we're pledging our support and our work and our continued collaboration with the mayor and his team, and thank you for everything in the struggle here to keep people in our city and to establish justice once and for all for everyone. Thank you.
Regarding this, Jay, Kenyatta, you want to come up and answer any questions about the particulars of the ordinance itself?
What is the proposed cost of this annually, and who's going to pay for it?
So technically, if we were to begin the initiative the way it is written in New York City, it's very different than it is in Newark. It would require us hiring a certain amount of attorneys to implement that, and that cost, we estimated, would be somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million, which would give us the ability to hire 5 to 10 attorneys, which we do have some legal concerns with, which our corporation counsel is vetting that process for us.
What are those concerns?
So, good evening, good morning, well, good afternoon, excuse me, everyone. Kenyatta Stewart, Corporation Counsel. So, to answer your question, we do realize that it's a high cost. However, we're going to start off working with the nonprofit and the for-profit law firms throughout the state. I've received phone calls from a number of law firms throughout the state of New Jersey. Of course, the law firms from Newark should be participating as much as anyone else. But we're going to start off with using the pro bono hours, and I'm using the word hours because all attorneys in the state of New Jersey have to do pro bono work unless you work for a specific agency. So, you know, there are some issues with the idea of the city of Newark paying for legal representation for, you know, people who are not city employees, if I may. So we're still hashing that part out now. At the current moment, we're just going to use pro bono work with MOU and things of that nature because a number of people have already agreed to work with us.
And it's about 10. We estimate we estimate the number of people immediately to be about 10,000 people that will be eligible immediately for this right away. We've already, for example, McCartan English and other law firms like that have already said that they were interested in being a part of this. So we're going to continue that route, but ultimately we're going to create an opportunity in the rent control office to be able to refer people, you know, to be able to get this kind of counsel, even if we have to raise the dollars for it. And we were talking about that as late as this morning. Yes, sir.
Mayor, the target date for when this service is going to be available to the tenants in Newark, do you have more or less in mind when this is going to be officially an ordinance in the city of Newark?
Yep, in September. We're looking to roll it out in September of this year. You know, structurally, we'll have everything together by then. You know, we've also been talking about an entity outside of the city that we can pay money into or raise money for to be able to do this as well. You know, New Jersey has strange laws, but we will find a way to raise the dollars and get this done in the city of Newark.
Mayor, you mentioned a number of 10,000 for eligibility. Is that low-income residents or eligible lawyers who would be able to participate?
No. Any lawyer in New Jersey can participate because of the pro bono hours. 10,000 is the number an estimated number that we are looking at as it relates to people who are undocumented, who are disabled, and our seniors who, go to court because it is illegal convictions.
Just a quick follow. Back in January, Governor Murphy's housing transition team created a report that suggested this very same proposal. How does that differ from what you are discussing now?
Oh, it's not, a lot of difference in that. Ultimately, we want to achieve the same thing. And we want to encourage them to look at what we're doing in Newark as we looked at what they were doing in New York with some of our community partners here in the city. And hopefully they can find some dollars statewide to give us some relief here in Newark around the things that we're doing as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Quick question off topic. Your reaction to the judge's ruling today about the ban on police escorts for private functions like your birthday?
Yeah, actually, it's something that happens all the time. So the EPU escorts people in and out of the city all the time. We just didn't have to escort Mayor de Blasio. He has his own escort. The issue was it was private, so we paid our own money for it. So what the judge said basically is, you don't pay no money, don't do anything, because we don't want to have to come to court and have these kind of disputes. And that's basically what happened. And the rest of it was thrown out as being frivolous.
Were you to do it over again, would you? Would you have had the escort if you could, looking back?
Would I do what? I'm sorry.
How proud? Do you regret going through all that?
No, I don't regret it. We paid for it, right? So it was $200. We paid for it. I think that ultimately the judge made a decision that he thought was right, and we abided by it. We're going to abide by it.
How was the party?
It was great. You should have come.
In court this morning for the proceeding, and one thing that was part of the judge's ruling, even though he tossed it out, was that he did order an accounting for the expenses,
right,
because there's been challenges to that fact that it was only $200.
Right.
So how would you respond to that?
Oh, this public information. They can look at it. It was tolls, the overtime for the officer that went over there. The only thing the police department has a problem with is that the guy turned on his sirens. Other than that, it's normal practice. We've picked up authors, reverends, pastors, the President of the United States, all types of people who come, funerals. We do this all the time. EPU does that. That's their job. The problem was it was a private event, which is why we paid for it. But the judge said, don't do that anymore. So we're not.
And your comment to the second part of the lawsuit that was thrown out, in
Right,
terms of the Newark flyer that was sent out,
right,
the challenge obviously was the fact that it resembled a campaign flyer that was within 90 days of the election.
Right.
Even though that was thrown out, can you just comment on that part of the lawsuit as well, please?
Well, it was thrown out, which means that the judge, well, it was frivolous. It was frivolous. It's a campaign tactic. We send information out all the time. We're going to continue to do that. We don't stop governing because it's campaign time, right? Somebody said we cleaning potholes because we fixing the potholes because it's campaign time. I told them, well, the asphalt place opens up in the spring, and that kind of coincides with the campaign time. So we can't not plug the potholes that you're complaining about because it's the campaign time. So we're going to continue to govern because it's election time. And thank God it's only a week away.
Question, I'm sorry. Those two officers are under review by internal affairs because of that. In light of that, do you have?
I can't speak to that because I can't speak to that. Yeah. You're very welcome. Any questions about the? Okay, all right. I appreciate it. Y'all gonna cover that too, right? Yes, ma'am.
Is there a plan to educate the public that these services are available? And
Yes.
will there be like a central place for residents to look for help?
And that's what we're trying to put together. Right now, it'll be the rent control office. That's what we're talking about now. It'll be at the rent control office where
Come into the city and ask for legal representation.
so we're going to have outreach, but come on, you want to add something to that?
Yeah. How you doing today? Again, Jason Grove, Policy Advisor to the Mayor, so I'll be able to answer that question more directly. What we're working on currently is a streamlined process with individuals who are trained in landlord-tenant issues primarily. Mr. Shavana talked about that training piece, talked about individuals that are able to provide just care and concern for the tough time that individuals will face. That involves technology, that involves communication, most importantly, outreach to the community. We'll use a collaborative approach and effort to do that. It will not be, hey, come to City Hall, hey, I'm being evicted, somebody help me out. It'll be a process that will be fully transparent, that will be open to individuals. We want to be very clear that we know that there is a larger group of individuals who are at 200% or below the federal poverty guideline. Our goal is to attract and to touch all of those folks. However, because this is the first of a 5-year rollout phase-in, we do not have the capacity to do that. We want to be very transparent in that process. So as we ramp up, as we set our date as September 1st, during that time, we will prepare a process that allows individuals to communicate with us. We want to be very clear that the first wave of individuals that we will look to support through this initiative are the disabled, the undocumented, as well as the elderly. Any more questions? If not, this is the last one. Last question.
Yeah, it's just the first time you mentioned it. I know the mayor brought it up in his State of the City address that there was a certain percentage of the poverty level of the people that will be applicable. In other words, it's not just a free giveaway to anyone.
Correct.
Is it only for eviction cases or anyone in landlord?
So this is for eviction cases. All right? Thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day.